This feels like the future. This headset made me feel like Android had finally caught up with the future. Then, about 30 minutes later, my forehead started to write a formal complaint. And that's basically the Galaxy XR in one sentence. It's brilliant, it's clever, it feels really premium. Some of the things it does are just so good that it makes my Meta Quest 3 feel a bit old. At the same time, it still has that first generation energy. 1 minute, you're genuinely impressed. The next, you're moving it around on your face like you're trying to fix your bike helmet. Today, I'm going to show you what setting this thing up is actually like, why the eye tracking might be the best part of the whole headset, and what Samsung and Google have absolutely nailed with Android XR. We also need to talk about the problems, because there are a few big ones stopping this from being an obvious buy on day one. Let's get into it. I'll be honest, the first 10 minutes were very good, very good. I didn't have my Galaxy phone next to me during setup, so I had to enter everything manually. That should have been annoying. Instead, it introduced me to the one feature that completely changes how this headset feels to use. And no, it's not the display. Setting up the Galaxy XR took me about 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, that's not bad at all. Although, typing in mid-air took a bit of getting used to. It's kind of like this fake touch typing in virtual space. You reach out and you physically tap the floating keyboard in front of you. I tried that for a while and it just feels so strange because there's no feedback. So you're just poking the air. And I bet anyone looking from the outside in just thinks, who's this weirdo? Anyway, it works. It feels a bit like you're playing a virtual air piano type thing. I don't know. The second method is much better. You point at a key with your hand and pinch. And that was quicker for me because when entering email addresses and passwords, it helped to be that slightly more quicker. Otherwise it just would have taken ages. Then the headset asks you whether you wanted to use hand tracking on its own or enable eye tracking as well. That's the point where I went from good to really impressive. Once the eye tracking was set up, I could look at something, pinch, while my hand was actually resting on my lap. The reason this actually works so well is that the Galaxy XR actually has 6 dedicated cameras just for tracking your hands. And crucially, 2 of them are located right on the underside. That means your arms don't need to be floating in front of you like you're directing traffic. You can sit normally with your hands on your lap, look at what you want, pinch, and carry on. It's actually quite sleek and smooth, and it just feels surprisingly natural. But if you want to actually bypass the air pinching entirely, I actually paired it with my Nilkin foldable Bluetooth keyboard. You know, the blue one that I mentioned? And I actually used it to edit this exact script while wearing the Galaxy XR headsets. So if you can touch type, and most of you probably out there can, it's incredible. And also you can actually come away entirely from your messy current environment. Yeah, alright, speak for yourself, Maz. I had my script up in the center, browser open on both sides for research, YouTube somewhere floating around, and Gemini in amongst everything else. And because these displays are so sharp, I didn't even notice the individual pixels on the text. I actually think it's a brilliant way to work. I mean, right up until you need to readjust the headset because your forehead hurts or the battery runs out and snaps you back to reality. But in the time that I was actually working, it was great not to be in my current environment, you know? And when you're done working, you can pair the dedicated Galaxy XR controllers, sold separately. These feature analog sticks, ergonomic grips, and haptic feedback for immersive gaming. But crucially, they offer 6DOF, which stands for 6 degrees of freedom. If you're new to VR, and a lot of us probably are, 6DOF basically means the headset tracks your movement accurately and intuitively in full 3D space. You don't just look around, you can physically lean in, step backwards, duck, and reach out to grab things exactly where they are. And if you want to just play standard flat Android games or cloud stream on a massive virtual cinema screen, you can absolutely just pair your existing standard Bluetooth controllers. So you don't have to shell out for these extra expensive ones. So actually having the ability to pair your existing Xbox or PlayStation controllers I think it's a great touch. You can also set up iris recognition, which is just cool, right? like, I mean, there's a 6-digit passcode as a backup, but unlocking a headset with your eyes just feels properly sci-fi, no? Like those things you saw when you're growing up. And yes, I know Vision Pro users are probably watching this and saying, mate, we've had this for ages. No, fair enough, I understand that. But from an Android perspective, this feels like the first time the whole experience has properly come together. Once setup is finished, Samsung puts your apps right in front of you. The first thing I noticed was just how clean the display looks. It looks way better than my Meta Quest 3. The pass-through is definitely clearer, text is easier to read, and the whole thing has a much more, I don't know, expensive look to it, probably because it is. I don't think it still reaches the standards of the Apple Vision Pro yet, but that's like double the price. Honestly though, it doesn't really need to. It's good enough that after a few minutes, you stop studying the pass-through quality and just start using the headset. The best thing about the Galaxy XR isn't one big flashy demo. It's how quickly it starts to feel useful. Android XR has a genuine advantage here because normal Android apps already make sense in this kind of environment. Even while the dedicated XR app library is still growing, because it has a lot of room to grow, the headset already has things it can do. A lot of headsets feel like very expensive toys. This feels more like a massive wearable monitor with mixed reality features added on top. That's much easier to justify when you can use it for YouTube, web browsing, multitasking, or just turning your room into a massive cinema. The virtual environments are nice as well. You can leave the normal pass-through view and sit inside these calmer digital spaces, complete with background audio, your launcher, and all your apps floating around you. It sounds like a small feature, but it changes the mood completely. You stop feeling like you're sitting in a room with a piece of tech strapped to your face. It starts to feel like your own digital space. And for watching content, this thing is excellent. Watching something on a huge floating screen with these displays is borderline ridiculous. I mean, in the best possible way. When you finally take the headset off and look at your actual phone, I remember thinking, nope, I'm going back in. And honestly, part of the reason reality looks so disappointing is because the 4K micro-OLED displays inside this thing are incredibly sharp. Text is crisp, videos pop, and it genuinely makes your physical screens look outdated. Samsung and Google have added a few more features that make this feel more than just a very fancy video player. You can open up Gemini using your voice or hold down the quick action button. It's also genuinely useful here because talking to software feels a lot less awkward when you're already wearing a computer on your face. The feature that really made me smile though was circle to search. No, not the normal phone circle to search, physical circle to search. You turn your palms towards yourself, pinch and hold, and then Google appears. And then you look around you and circle something in the real world. I know it sounds gimmicky when I try to explain it to you, but inside the headset though, it feels so natural. The first time I tried it, I had one of those stupid little tech grin moments, you know, like I've got right now. By the way, you can use the inbuilt cameras in this thing to capture spatial media directly onto your headset. You can also transform your existing Google Photos and videos into 3D. The video conversion can sometimes take a while, so just pick the ones you want and let them render in the background while it spatializes them? Wait, is that even a word? I think this is one of those features people might dismiss until they actually try it. On a spec sheet, it just sounds like another camera mode, right? When you look back at a moment in 3D or spatial or whatever they call it, it feels much more personal than looking at a flat image in front of you on your phone or your tablet. I mean, it's not magic, obviously, or is it? No, carry on. It's not magic, obviously, and it's not going to replace every normal photo you take. But for certain memories, though, it feels a little closer to being there again, you know? And I really like that. By this point, I was sitting there thinking, okay, Samsung might actually have something here. Then I started noticing the headset on my forehead. The good news is that Galaxy XR doesn't feel as brutally front heavy as the Vision Pro. The external battery, which I've got in my pocket somewhere, is doing a lot of the work here. Because the battery isn't attached to the front of the headset and is not fully made of metal and glass, the whole thing does feel lighter. More than it looks, actually. I think Samsung made the right decision here. A cable hanging out the side isn't exactly elegant, I know, but I'd rather deal with that than having a heavier brick clamped to my face, and I mean clamped. You can also use the headset while the battery is charging, which is genuinely handy. When I got mine through the post, it basically had no charge in the battery, so I ended up using it while plugged into the wall. It also means you can connect a power bank if you wanted to stretch out a session on a flight or a long trip. Now for the less enjoyable part. For the first 20 to 30 minutes, I was mostly fine. After that though, the front of my forehead started to ache a little. I mean, it wasn't unbearable, don't get me wrong, but it was noticeable that I kept reaching up and readjusting the headset. That's been my experience with the Comfort. It starts off well, but the longer you wear it, the more aware you are that you are wearing it. Samsung has made some smart design choices. The magnetic facial parts are nice, the light shields are easy to attach, and the materials all feel really premium. Still, if the fit isn't quite right for your face, you're definitely going to feel it. Unlike the Apple Vision Pro, you don't get to scan your face to figure out what modular parts are going to help it fit more precisely. Instead, you're kind of given a choice between thinner or thicker forehead pieces. They've skipped over the overhead strap entirely and kind of hoped for the best. I'm really hoping we can see some quick quality of life improvements from third-party brands since this has been out in America for like 8 or 9 months. Because right now, long sessions of gaming or productivity are going to be a bit of a tough ask. I mean, not as much as the Vision Pro, it's much lighter than that, but still. The official battery life is officially 2 hours for general use and 2.5 hours for video. That gives you a pretty good idea of the kind of device this is. It's not something that you wear all evening, even though you can plug it in and completely forget about. At the moment, until I get my hands on those third-party comfort things, it feels more like a premium headset for focus sessions. Now we need to talk about the awkward part. The hardware is strong, the eye tracking is excellent, displays are amazing, and the advantage of having access to normal Android apps is very real. The dedicated software side though feels very early. You can use loads of standard Android apps immediately, which gives the headset a purpose from day one. If you're buying it mainly for a huge library of proper native VR games and premium immersive apps, the shelves still feel a bit half empty. That doesn't make it a bad headset. You just need to be honest about what you actually want to use it for. For productivity, massing floating screens, watching content, browsing Gemini, and mixed reality features, it makes a lot of sense. For endless must-play VR exclusives, Meta still has a strong argument for now. There's one more thing worth mentioning. I read that some recent software update caused some complaints from some users about sluggish performance, overheating, losing tracking ability, and general glitchiness. I know a patch was rolled out and it might already be in play already, which is obviously good news. I personally didn't experience these issues as I had some updates before I started using it, but I guess it's also a reminder that this platform is still finding its feet. So if you buy one, the first thing I'll do is check for updates before making any judgments about performance. So, do I like the Galaxy XR headset? Yeah, I do. It's the most interesting Android headset I've tried because it feels useful before it starts kind of showing off, you know? The eye and pinch controls, absolutely brilliant. Display quality is excellent. The pass-through is very, very good. Gemini and circle search make so much sense here. I mean, don't start wearing it outside and start circling things in your environment, but I'm saying for your local environment, it's brilliant. And while the external battery is slightly annoying, it's probably the main reason the headset doesn't feel like a dumbbell strapped to your face. Look, it's definitely not perfect. The comfort definitely needs work. My forehead can confirm that. The app ecosystem is still growing. The battery life is only okay. And the recent software problems are exactly the kind of thing you expect from an early adopter tech. So here's my honest take. If you want the most polished XR experience and money is no object, Apple's option still feels a lot more finished. But even that's not much further ahead than this. If you want the cheapest and easiest route into VR gaming, Quest 3 is still the most obvious answer. But if you want a premium Android first headset that shows us exactly where Google and Samsung are heading at almost half the price of the Apple Vision Pro, then this is the first one to properly make me sit up and pay attention. And since those official XR glasses won't be getting built-in displays this year from Google, this is the absolute best way to scratch that spatial computing itch. If you enjoyed the video, and I really hope you did because I really enjoyed making it for you, make sure you hit like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. And by the way, I've got this in the studio. The Huawei MatePad Pro Max, which I've been testing. This is already unboxed, so don't worry. So make sure you subscribe because that video is coming really soon. I'm Maz and this is MazTechCentral, where I like to keep tech simple and accessible for everyone. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves. See you guys in the next one. Bye now.